the moon rocket, doesn't it?
Well,
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle Showcase. I am delighted to have the three wise men of Webdadi joining me today. In the corner, we have Ollie Chappell. How are you, Ollie? Okay?
I'm good. Thanks, Simon.
Elliot in the bottom right-hand corner, and we have Mark on the left-hand side. How the devil are you lot? You okay?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Good stuff. Well, as everyone knows, these showcases are very much you guys. Webdadi has been a name, obviously, within the industry for as long as I can remember. Certainly, when I burst onto the scene, being the Peter Pan character that I am, you guys obviously very well established. But we're going to treat today as if nobody knew you, and so obviously we're going to really try to get to the bottom of what you guys have to offer, and obviously the services you can provide for agents. I think before we kick off, Elliot, am I right in saying you've got one here we prepared earlier?
One we prepared earlier, in true Blue Peter style. Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
No worries at all. And if it doesn't work, of course, this is classic Simon Whale, lack of attention to detail because we didn't have a run through. Everyone expects that with me.
We expect it.
There we go. I think can we see that?
Yeah, I can see it. Let me just add it to the stream, and then we can I just add it up like that. That's can you see it?
Great. Here we go.
Ready to play.
Cool, gents. Right, okay.
Can you sound of mine?
So there was a few. You've hit us straight away with a few obvious things in there. So what was that one? Was that Pedders talking about getting more leads than from ZPG?
Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
Well, that's
more valuation leads than they got total leads from Zoopla. Yeah, 4 times as many.
And not to take us completely off track, but that's how my mind works. Because that's really interesting, isn't it? Because the one thing the portals are often accused of is, look, buyers, no problem at all. We've got enough of those. But the ones you're really after, the valuation leads, is not something they particularly specialised in the past.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I mean, that's really what the website is for, is to generate those, valuations from vendors and landlords. That's actually what its job is. And it's great to see someone like Pedder really taking advantage of that through the website platform, really.
Yeah, they're a great agency, aren't they? Down in London, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what? Just before we do go into it, what do you think the main reason? Why do websites, your personal websites, deliver for vendors in a way that the portals don't?
It's validation. It's validation of the business, and it's your shop window really to get across what you can do as a service. And the portal is great for getting your property stock out there, but everyone's the same. It's a level playing field of this is it. Are you interested? Actually, what the website is who are we as a company? What's our ethos? What are we going to provide you? And that's why actually it's the gateway for the vendors and landlords, because that's what they're interested in. They're interested in the personality of the actual agency and what they're going to give them in terms of marketing. And you've got to be able to market yourself, because fundamentally that's what you're doing for the properties. So they're judging you on your own marketing.
That makes perfect sense. So basically, I mean, you just become homogenized on a portal, don't you? I mean, you can change your branding and everything else, but by definition, you're going to have to blend in with everyone else. And the one thing you don't want to blend in with in a marketing sense, well, you don't want to blend in, do you? So that does make, well, we've dealt that one straight away. That's one problem issue. That makes perfect sense. Here's the reason why these guys should be talking to you with that level of expertise. I've learned after bluffing for the last 20 years, so thank you for that. Guys, we're going to talk today about, obviously, you as a business in terms of the websites, the CRM, the marketing expertise that you bring to the fore here. And I believe the title of this in terms of there is Webdadi AU goes, we believe in removing the obstacles to successful sales and marketing. So that's a really interesting, obviously, because it's a catch-all for so many things. And I think, would it be fair to say that that is one of your key strengths, is that you do these disparate elements, you bring them all together?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's one package that does it all, just sales and marketing, but that's what we're specialists at.
Excellent. Well, we'll call it quits there then, guys. We've done that again. That's, don't worry. If the pubs were properly open, I might have taken that opportunity, but I'm not there. But okay, right. Well, let's kick off then, and let's go for a nice contentious one to wake people up from their lunchtime slumber. You've got the difficult after lunch audience here, so let's wake them up with what are the biggest mistakes that agents can make with their websites. Nice again, contentious one to get the ball rolling.
Elliot, take it away.
Yeah, nice simple question there to answer for everyone. I think the biggest mistake that people would make is not to value it. And I'll explain what I mean by that. There are so many successful businesses out there, successful agencies, and their success is based on, word of mouth, referrals, and their reputation locally. And they're great at their job, and that's how they garner business. And some people make the mistake of thinking, well, I don't really need a website. What's the website going to do for me? Or it's just something I have to have nowadays to put on a business card or something like that. And actually that would be a huge mistake, because it doesn't challenge that element of your business. That's all sewn up, and that's the reward of all your hard work. But actually what the website is a digital representation of that reputation online. And it's an opportunity for you to market to hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of new people who you couldn't reach by traditional marketing or word of mouth alone. And it allows you to take that reputation and essentially broadcast it to the internet in a way that's specific to your business. And by not valuing it, some people might make the mistake of saying, well, I just need to get a website and just purchase anything. Anything will do. Yeah. And actually you're kind of undervaluing your business, because you wouldn't do that in any other sense. You wouldn't buy an old banger to turn up to a valuation. And you certainly wouldn't buy an old banger if it didn't even start, because it wouldn't fundamentally do what you need it to do. And as we discussed earlier, what it needs to do is generate valuations from vendors and landlords. And you're not going to do that with a website that doesn't reach people, doesn't have good SEO, isn't well designed, isn't structured in a way with a good user journey and pulling graphics. All of that is just as important in terms of the word of mouth, because that's how people will operate online. So yeah, that's really one of the main mistakes they can make, because if you purchase something that doesn't work, it's a waste of money. Yeah. So it might seem like a good idea to spend 50, 60 pound maybe on a website and think, right, that's sorted. But that's money wasted.
It's the most expensive, cheap mistake you can make, isn't it, really?
Yeah, there's no point throwing money away for the sake of it. It's got to fundamentally do what you need it to do. And the second thing in terms of valuing it is you've got to interact with it. We do our best at Webdadi to make that as easy as possible and to automate as much as we can. But you have to interact with it. You have to have relevant content on there, blogs, and actually use it as the advertising tool that it is to kind of reach out to people. I mean, perfect example is, what's just happened with lockdown and COVID. All of our best agents interacted with the website, put messages on there. What are we doing? There's no ambiguity there. Someone lands on the site, they know they're operating, they know they're working in a safe environment, and it helps reinforce, actually, I'm going to give these guys a call, because they've got the finger on the pulse. I can see that they're operating. Yourself, if you go to a website and it's out of date and it's not engaging with the audience, you think, well, should I give them a ring? Are they open? What are they doing? And that's the second thing about valuing it. You've got to interact with it and treat it with the respect that it deserves.
Really helpful hints there in terms of that. And do you think the attention or do you think the weight that agents give to websites has increased or decreased over the last few years? Are agents on the whole becoming much more aware that this is vital? Not just because of lockdown, of course, just the general trend.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they are valuing it more, certainly in the last couple of years. But actually, lockdown, we saw a huge increase of people on our platform making updates, because I think it's always been something that people know they should do and always wanted to do. But it's about finding the time, fundamentally. That's what it's about. And actually, lockdown forced people into that situation. There was no choice. You had to adapt. And I think people have actually seen the benefits of that. post lockdown, and as we go into the, another period, I know we're still semi sort of lockdown, but people have actually seen the advantages of that, and it's sort of chucked them in at the deep end, and then they can recognize exactly what they gain from it, and they can see tangible business results. And I think that's been really important for the industry.
That's absolutely right. In the same way that somebody who was, not overly happy with their home and was thinking about moving, if you hadn't been particularly au fait with your own website, you'd have been cringing going into specifically that first lockdown, wouldn't you? Where you could have been forgiven, because of course none of us could have guessed, but you'd have been feeling a sense of not just annoyance but anger at yourself if you went into this second one and you hadn't sorted it out by then.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's nothing worse than not being in control when you need to be in control, and just knowing, in hindsight, what you should have done is always one of the most frustrating things. So yeah, I think that's a really important point. It's really thrust it into the limelight. Interesting, we were talking to a branding expert who we did some work with, and they were saying that what COVID done has accelerated so much change in businesses, and actually that change isn't different from what it would have been, but it's just accelerated plans by 2, 3, 4 years. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing in the estate agency industry as well with websites.
Cool. And just specifically, why are your websites different then? Because obviously there's the reason why so many agents get kind of walk down the road and not making the right choices. There's a bewildering number of website companies, aren't there, that are out there, seemingly bedroom techies that can knock this up for absolutely no fee there. So how do you differentiate yourself from the crowd of obviously website providers out there, other than, of course, which I know is that I'm not going to let you have the easy one, other than obviously being dedicated to the estate agency market itself, which is of course critical, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, data is so important. That's why estate agency niches exist, is you have to import data and you have to be able to export data. And fundamentally, that's what sets us apart as a website provider. But in terms of, specifically estate agency providers, traditionally, you've always had a choice between template websites over here and bespoke websites over here. And each has their advantages and disadvantages. Template is cheaper and it's quicker to knock up. But obviously the danger is you look the same as everyone else, and that's your competitor down the road. Then you've got bespoke, which traditionally is very expensive and has a much longer build time, because you've got to engage in a huge project, which actually is quite scary for quite a lot of businesses. And they're quite broad choices. Our platform actually sits in the middle, and it's what we call a hybrid of both template and bespoke. So it's got the advantages of both. It's cheaper, but it's highly configurable. So it's basically one website platform, similar to Squarespace, Wix, this kind of platform that's highly configurable. So you can pick a theme out the box that's a template as you would know it, but actually you can decide, I want to move this around. I want to change the design slightly. I need to create pages. I need to configure things. So you have that bespoke element that you can inject into the project for the price of a template. And it makes it much easier now for agents to build a website the way that they want to, without having this huge build time, this huge dedication of resources, and also a huge budget. That's where Webdadi comes in. And the advantage of having that one platform is we can update that platform, because inevitably you launch a website. It's a huge thing for a business, and as soon as you launch it, it becomes out of date, and that's a scary thought for a lot of businesses. And then you then have to pay to start to inject new things into the website. And that's very hard to budget for. What we do is we actually release what we call innovation updates across the platform. So much like an app, it will automatically update. So all of our customers from our app store could just install these free innovations. So to give you an example, we recently did predictive text, predictive search on the websites. So it begins to suggest results for you. All of our customers could just update their website to inject this directly from the App Store. So it didn't matter if you bought it 6 months ago and that was prior to that development, you still got the advantage because you're on this platform that actually you could introduce that. And I think that's a huge thing for agents. It's future-proofing your website, because you never know what's around the corner. And it's very hard to make decisions and be pigeonholed at the point that you've got to choose.
That's a vital point, isn't it? Because the one thing that obviously frustrates I think everybody, but agents in particular, they'd get into what they would call this kind of the 3-year cycle, wouldn't they? You'd spend a lot of money getting it all done in there, and then you said, literally a bit like driving a car out of the forecourt. The minute you drive it out there, it starts losing value and relevance from that point on. And the problem is, as well, is when you have that sort of relationship, the minute that you go back to somebody, with all due fairness, you might have come up with this innovation, but in the past you said this will cost 500 quid or whatever else it is there. You're losing the trust, aren't you, and the belief of the client, because it feels to them that you're being upsold after having just spent this big amount, isn't it? So actually what you've done there very cleverly is you're still able to deliver these enhancements that will keep you at the top of your game, whilst obviously not losing all the investment from that big rebrand that everybody does need to have every now and again, because the world of web changes so massively over such a short period of time, doesn't it?
Exactly that. And they have access to a CMS platform. So they have access to our software called VIA. Now, traditionally, what that would allow you to do is, change titles, change images, but beyond that, you can't really change much. Whereas actually our software platform, because it's a website building platform, you can change the titles, you can change the images, but you can get really advanced if you want to. You can build new pages, you can design new pages, you can configure loads of things on the website, and you can get as advanced as you want to. So, if you decide in 2 months' time, actually you need to create a new page for Meet the Team or a new service that you offer, perhaps you do loads of charity work, it's hard to think of all the things you might need at the point that it's being built. Whereas with this, you don't need to rush, you don't need to panic, you can do it yourself for free. And obviously the advantage with that is you don't need to wait for us to schedule it for you. If you need that page, you can build it in an hour, half an hour, 15 minutes, however skilled you are on the platform. And that makes a huge difference, because agents need it and they need it now, and you can't afford to wait. And actually having that freedom to build and design as you see fit, I think, is a key factor for estate agents.
I think you've highlighted actually there, and one of the biggest mistakes has got to be if somebody's coming to you without the ability to have that CMS, that, as they call it, is it content management system, isn't it?
Yeah.
That ability to amend things yourself. There's a huge warning shot straight off, because it does mean then every little change you want to make that you'll say the immortal phrase, it can't cost that much to do, will get thrown back in your face, won't it? Because you are, gonna get, undoubtedly get a bill from them each time you're doing it. So watch out for that and ensure that you have control over your content to a large degree yourself.
Yeah, exactly that. And also, the platform allows you to integrate with Google Tag Manager, which is a really clever tool from Google. And so many agents, there's so much prop tech out there. They want to be able to integrate their websites with lots of different providers, be that Moneypenny or a chat provider, whoever it might be. Again, you need to integrate that quickly. And you don't want to be stuck with a provider who, again, is going to deliver you a bill as soon as you sign up to a third party. And actually you've invested £50, £60 a month, whatever it might be. And suddenly you're stuck with a £500 bill to actually integrate the thing on your website. You can do all of these things through the Webdadi platform. So it's just helping you to open up the website space, essentially.
Because there aren't really any bigger projects, are there, than a website? I mean, my old space, the CRM. If you're an agent, CRM and website, those are the ones, don't you, that you don't look particularly forwards to. And when you do need to have it, because they're so important, you've got to have the right assistance to make sure that it goes properly, because it can genuinely almost take down businesses if they're not done correctly, can't they?
Yeah, and it's scary. It can be scary because there are so many options and it's so technical. It can feel really overwhelming. And what we try and do is simplify everything into simpler choices for agents. And actually, we'll take care of the hard work behind the scenes, all the tech stuff that you don't need to worry about, and actually just present you with, look, which would you prefer? This option, or actually in our experience, we found this works. You need that level of consultation within a website as well. You need someone to hold your hand through the process, because it can be hard, and if you go down the wrong route, you can really pay for it as a business.
Absolutely. I remember one particular competitor of ours many moons ago promised that the data conversion side of things and the website would be incredibly easy. And for a month, they only had one property on the website, which probably, I'm pretty sure it wasn't because they'd done a really good job selling the stock, let's just say. Anyway, that always stood out as a reminder there that you've got to do your due diligence and make sure, again, talk to as many different agents as you can do, get the references that count, don't they?
Yeah.
For make sure you're dealing with somebody who's kosher. So that's good.
And as you know, Simon, all those feeds, they change, don't they? So a CRM provider is going to update their feed, change it. And if you've outsourced it to a company that builds everything from the ground up, they're going to charge you for those feed changes and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you're on a subscription type model like Webdadi, you know, your all those sort of change requests are managed as part of your subscription. So if your feed changes, we'll update it for you. You don't need to worry about it.
I remember, again, clients that shall remain nameless until we have a pint and I can whisper it and be terribly unprofessional. I remember some of those guys who went with genuinely fantastic web companies. You know, the look and feel of it, you know, was fantastic. But they simply couldn't get their head around the mechanics of what an estate agency website needs to do in terms of literally putting your stock on there, the search facilities, BLM feeds, whatever, Rightmove real-time feeds these days. It's almost like until you can get to that as a starting point, don't start thinking about all this clever, sexy stuff, because otherwise it won't function as a website in its own right, will it?
Exactly that. Yeah.
A man who knows a little bit about tech, I think it's fair to say, Mr. Robert May here of CFP Legend and Law. He's just asking which agent has a site that best showcases Webdadi. You mentioned there was a couple on there. Which would you say are some of the good websites for people to have a good look at?
Yeah, I mean, Pedder Property is certainly a really good example. They've actually got 3 websites with us. They've got the main estate agency website. They've got Elysium Finance, which is their mortgage arm. And they've also got Pedder Developments, which is their new homes development. So they've actually got 3 sites with us. And they're a really good agency because the level of interaction they have with the site is really impressive. I mean, you'll see there that the amount of information they've put on there about COVID, all of that was built by them. So we can't take credit for that other than the platform that we've given them. But certainly in terms of design, it's a great looking site. It's a really good example to people of how to use a website properly. There's a few others that I could mention. Green Slate Taylor Hunt down in Cornwall, really good agency. I mean, they have a wide range of things that they do, from estate agency through to farm animal sales and all sorts. So it has a bit of everything there. But again, it's an agent who interacts with that site to such a large extent that they really get value out of the platform.
And you've got a department for everything down there. Our friends in GTH, I remember.
Yeah.
I think that they were the first people to explain to me what chattel was, but I still don't really know. But anyway. And can you just talk us through then, how can you help agents budget for basically next year, for 2021? What should they be doing? Because of course, you know, everyone's returned to a great marketplace, far better than anyone could have hoped back in May or June. So there's a bit of an article. You've been waiting for this bad news story. We're going to hit a tricky road at some stage, aren't we? So is it that we should be keeping our powder dry, or is now the time to start saving the money to get the website sorted for 2021?
The thing with our solution is it can save you money. There's lots of prop tech out there with lots of disparate parts, and you aren't quite sure if it gives you a return on investment, and each comes with a monthly subscription and they add up. They might only be 20 quid, 30 quid, but they all add up. With our platform, you can just plug in an instant valuation tool, and it actually brings all your leads together into one platform. So you can see which parts of the site are working and which aren't. So we have lots of plugins that will replace other bits of tech for you to allow you to save money. We also have a combined website and CRM package.
Yeah.
So you can have the full lot in one subscription, but you've also got, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to give up your CRM provider, because that's a lot of data for some people to want to migrate across. But we have a lead management software which will collate all of the leads through the website. It will tell you where that lead has come from so you can measure success. Yeah. We'll also give that information to your negotiators. Quite traditionally, the website would be over here and your negotiators are over here, and they're dealing off of emails. Whereas actually our system will stack up those leads in a dashboard for them. So you have complete transparency of who's been contacted, have you chased it up? You don't want it lost in someone's junk email or whatever it might be. So that's one of the main things that can save you money. But with our subscription model, we actually charge per branch as opposed to per user. Yeah. And actually that's far easier to manage from a business point of view, because the branches that you've got, you know how much it's going to cost you month on month. So if you outsource your blogging and you want to give them access, you can give a third party access to the software to just do blog articles for you. It won't cost you any more money. You want to give access to your negotiators to just see the leads, you can do that. You're not going to be charged per seat or anything like that. So that makes it a lot more useful for you to give the access to who you need to give access to without spending more money. And what we spoke about before about future-proofing your website, you know, all these changes, new website pages, whatever it might be, the agent can do it themselves within the software. So you don't have to spend money adapting and changing your website, because you know you're gonna have to. You are gonna have to change and adapt it. And if you can do that, knowing there's no cost, then you shouldn't be penalized for growing, adapting your business. That's all available on the platform.
Perfect. Thanks, Elliot. And how are you guys supporting customers to increase their local presence? Mark, I think this is your specialist area, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's actually quite simple. We recognize how important it is for any business to be easily found in their local market by their potential local customers. And for the estate agency market, that's obviously vendors and landlords that we're obviously trying to attract. So whether you're just a one brancher or you're a national organization, it's really important to have that local digital presence as strong as possible.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is delivering websites to these businesses that are optimized for the local searches using Google or other search engines. And this is basically what we call SEO in modern terms. So the content that's on these sites is obviously going to be unique to that particular agent. So what we do during the build process is help to make sure that content is structured and relevant. So we can ensure that the search engines are going to be able to successfully index the whole site whenever it's released, and that can improve the search rankings for Google and others, but also maximize the real impact of your local marketing effort. So when people are looking for what you're offering, you can be as high in those rankings as possible, and the structure's already there in the templates that we provide.
So this isn't, what do they call it? This isn't any of the dark arts, the black hat technology, is it? This is just utilizing it to optimize things organically in the best possible way. So because I think Google's really cracked down, hasn't it, on people trying to be clever, and actually it just wants a real honest experience from users at the end of the day. Yeah,
Google have really actually they've done a lot of changes over the years, and what they've become recently is just encouraging suppliers to be really honest and relevant about what they do, rather than try and trick the system by just replicating keywords all over the site and putting in loads and loads of relevant content. And they recognize that as companies trying to trick engines into ranking them highly, and actually a negative results often applies. So it's important that what we're doing as an organization is providing that knowledge of how this all works, and we know what Google likes and what Google doesn't like, and we've designed our platform to support that kind of optimization structure, so we can make sure the content is relevant and is going to work for them. Great. And so much these days is not just about what we do ourselves, is it? But actually this concept of being a platform and an ecosystem, these are words that get tossed around. It's so much about how well you actually integrate and play friendly with other systems and other providers there. So who do you integrate with or handle exports for at the moment, Mark? Yeah, okay. So depending on which edition of Webdadi you're using, there's going to be a need to either import or export information from the site. So we work with all the major CRM players out there, and we use all the industry standard kind of data formats to be sure that the exchange is as effective and hopefully effortless as possible. So basically, there's not going to be a problem as long as the CRM provider is also using the same industry standards as everyone else in the marketplace.
So that's one side. The other side is the portals. We can integrate with all the industry property portals. The agent will be assured that the property data that's held in our, so if they're using our CRM solution and they're uploading data to the portals, they can be assured that any changes are done in real time. So when they're making updates to an existing listing, like a change in sales status or in the asking price, or it's a new property, then that will be an immediate upload to whichever portal sites that they're linking to. So we can ensure that happens in real time. I think Ollie's going to talk a little bit about other integrations that we can also provide that might be needed.
Excellent.
Yes, well, you've got this sort of classic, because we're a CRM provider and a website provider, you've got to have those two types of integrations happening as well. So on the website, we integrate with any product that can work with Google Tag Manager. So what that means is that we can allow Google to sit in the middle and be a buffer and a security place to put your code snippets, your widgets, whatever you want to update in your website, like a FIFO review widget, an Esther's review, I don't know, an auctions platform, whatever it might be, the widget that you want to stick in the website, we do it through Google Tag Manager. So that prevents things like cross-site hacking, which is the XSS attacks. So Google acts as a kind of buffer, but more importantly, you can test it before you publish it live. So that means as an owner of your website, or the stakeholders in the site, the marketeers, they can try a new widget out and see if it's going to work for them. They don't have to go to a developer and say, can you install this for me? How much is that going to cost? So by using Google Tag Manager, they can actually install it themselves. So it means they can do it immediately. They don't have to wait in a queue for a developer to get around to it. They don't have to pay the cost of a developer, which is often much more expensive to get someone to do it. And then there's many other benefits of being in Google Tag Manager, from being able to take it with you to another website provider if you wanted to being able to link it to Google Analytics. So many good reasons for you using Google Tag Manager. So yeah, anything that's needing to be plugged into your website, we can use Google Tag Manager to do that. And when it comes to CRM, we've got a store of partners as well that work with our CRM. So from Let's Pay to PayProp, anything you want to trigger effectively and export to, we can do that through our CRM platform. So we've got, depending on your user permissions, you can even export data into Salesforce or other platforms as well. So very high level of integration is possible with Webdadi. And as Elliot sort of said earlier, you can control a lot of this yourself. And that's our mantra, is that you can either do it yourself, or you can pay somebody else to do it. And we facilitate either one of those options. So we don't just do build it yourself or buy it. You've actually got both. You can build and buy with Webdadi. So you can add things to it, you can customize it yourself, and you have the ability to do that.
So you're very much at the forefront of this kind of new kind of company at the moment that really is, look, as long as there is an open API from the other side, we've got a willingness, a desire to do the integrations that our clients want us to do. It sounds like,
in essence, it's that. So we don't have to get in the middle of it. We provide the middleware, the middle bit of the cake is Google Tag Manager that sits literally in that. So if somebody says, can we do this? It's really easy to integrate our products. That's fine. Stick it in Google. If it's that easy, stick it in Google Tag Manager, because it should. If it doesn't install in there, then your product isn't as simple as you say it is. So, Google have made it easy to do. They've made it easy enough for marketers to do it without developers. So everyone's better off with a tool like that in the middle, because it saves money, saves time, and enables anything to be possible. So that's how we operate, allowing you to do as little or as much as you like.
That's tremendously liberating, isn't it? Because whilst many agencies will have a marketing resource, it's still a massive minority that have a dedicated technical person, that has that level of technical expertise to at least to be able to develop apps or something else. They might have an IT person that supports the branch network of hardware, but to go that next stage is very, very difficult and available only to a few. But marketing resource, having the ability to launch and put this innovation on the front foot is pretty powerful.
it's the perfect product for marketeers, because let's just say you do want to create some new USP for your estate agency, some new process that's perhaps giving you landlord statements in a new way with some other information. I don't know, whatever you want to create off the back of your website. Well, you can get custom services to do that and plug them in. So you've got your main template, your shop window. What you stick in your shop window is entirely up to you. So that's what we've effectively built here as a framework to allow you to do that.
And thank you, thanks, Ollie. And you were talking about earlier that obviously a number of your clients have different departments and things like that. Just looking at a couple of them, do you do commercial? Do you look at international property? How far is the remit of where you guys can get involved comfortably?
I'm glad you asked that. Yes, so yes, we do residential sales and lettings, of course.
Yeah.
And with beyond that, you've got the agricultural side, rural, all those other things like Greenslade, Taylor Hunt, and then we do international properties. So we've got sites in Italy. We won best Italian website 4 years on the trot. We've got commercial, so that deals with all the unitization, being able to show what units are available in a commercial property. That could be a development as well, land and new homes. So the international deals with multi-currency, and it also, if you've got international properties, you can showcase what airports are nearest those properties. So we've got that data as well. Okay. So we got, Elliot was saying that we are a data company. We've got all sorts of data from all sorts of sources, from Department of Education for schools data, airports data, you name it. Really, for what we do in our niche, we've got it. So
that's really important, though, isn't it? Because you're talking about there, and it's such a wide scope of different things that you're able to do. Where does your kind of ability end? Where does it? It can't be limitless, can it? So where do you kind of draw the line? What's your process for saying, look, that's outside of our core skill set?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So what we are is we're really specialists at sales and marketing. We don't go beyond the sales and marketing department. So we don't go into property management, for instance.
Yeah.
It's really important to understand that what we build is a sales and marketing tool, and that's really where it ends. So we don't go into property management because that's got nothing to do with sales and marketing as a function. You don't want all your prospects and suspects clogging up your client database. Slow it down. You'd be searching through loads more records that you don't need. So that would just clutter everything up. So we don't do that. And then you've got obviously accounting and billing, but we don't get involved in that because there are specialist products for accounts like Xero. There's great cloud software there for accounting. There's great providers that do tenant referencing, all these other providers that have specialist places in our industry. And one of the great things about Kerfuffle is that you enable all these softwares to be around, showcased, and so we integrate with any of them because that's what we believe you should be able to do. You shouldn't be constrained if you want to use the latest open banking system to check people's bank references or anti-money laundering or whatever it is. And if you've got one product that tries to do it all, you'll always be behind the curve for those those additional things that you could do with blockchain that's coming and all that kind of stuff. So we're the trigger for those things, but we're never going to get involved in property management, just a solution for sales and marketing people.
Specialize, do what you're good at, and that you deliver at the really top level of service in that area, isn't it? Yeah, rather than what so many people fall down time and time again, trying to be the jack of all trades and actually just failing to deliver on any of them in particular. That makes sense.
And it's always been a problem for CRM companies, how far to go. Yeah. Because what didn't happen is you didn't have things like webhooks to feed back from them to tell you whether it had happened or not. So the rise of APIs, the newer rise of webhooks means that you can get a notification back into your system to say, we've checked that tenant. His bank reference is checked out. His reference from his previous landlord's fine, tick. So all those notifications will be able to come in eventually and build out and enable all those other prop techs to coexist in that ecosystem with a triggering system like ours, which literally stops at that point.
It's a tremendously exciting time, really, isn't it? Because it's all set up now to deliver the best experience for the user, isn't it? Whereas, if we're honest, everyone had that kind of one ring to rule them all mentality, didn't we? Because we were being
pushed by people naturally from the user's point of view. Wouldn't it be great if you did that? Wouldn't it be great if you did that? But you end up with this bloated system that we just spoke about, doesn't really deliver on any particular note. So yeah, I think it's really important to understand that. You mentioned accountancy. I think you said it 3 times, and like Candyman, Robert May appeared again. But the man from Del Rummage says Greenslade Taylor Hunt is Webdaddy site. That's one of my favourites. Now, if you're getting the thumbs up from Robert, you take that to the bank, my friends. Get him on Kerfuffle, get him doing a review, because that's very good. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for paying attention there and everything else. Okay, that's really interesting in terms of understanding that. And what would you say then? If an agent has a CRM already, why do they need Webdaddy's lead manager? Because on most of these systems tend to try and deal with the leads in some way. Is there something you're doing differently?
Should we let Elliot answer that one?
There's you're right. There are different versions of Webdaddy, and one of them is the website and lead manager. So in the traditional estate agent CRM kind of space, there was always a kind of a separate technology situation in the website and the CRM, because they've just been built by and designed by different suppliers. So there's always this sort of disconnected process for new leads coming in through the website, and this can have a really negative impact on your website lead conversion. So the reasons many of our customers are using to choose lead manager with the website in these situations is to eliminate the risk of losing those leads. Might have dropped into a email folder or something, or there's always a process of manually rekeying in that information into another system, and quite often some errors made in that process. So they want to eliminate all of that. But most importantly, they want to improve their responsiveness when new leads arrive. So they can really sort of get on top of those really quickly, because as we all know, a new lead's value is at its hottest in the first hour, and absolutely, any sort of response follow-up made after that, that sort of golden period, is just going to reduce the chances of winning that valuation and possible instruction for that particular property. So what Webdaddy is doing is automating new lead alerts. So everyone's going to get flagged up for that new lead coming in, and the registrations that are made are all automatically stored as a new sort of contact record in the lead manager system. So that might come actually with some pre-qualification. So it'll come with some information about what pages they've looked at on the site and properties that they've had a look at as well. So when the follow-up is made, hopefully kind of immediately, we can do that with a level of understanding about what that lead's interested in and how the conversation might go in terms of what their interest is and needs are. So once it's registered and qualified, that lead can be then marketed to using Lead Manager. So we can start to be really smart and savvy about our marketing follow-ups, pushing out new property alerts and customized newsletters and whatever else you want to be sending out to them to just really try and maximize the marketing impact that you're having on that process. We can also get a lot of information out of Lead Manager through real-time dashboarding and reports, so we can start to get a real sense of how the website's performing on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, whatever it is, to sort of get some understanding of that and see how quickly leads are being responded to, when they were last followed up, when we've got callbacks scheduled for them, and just really stay on top of what we're doing with our sales and marketing activities.
Do you are you able to sort of quantify at the moment what using your Lead Manager does in terms of that ability to respond, or is it too early in the day to be able to get those kind of statistics? Because you're quite right. I mean, obviously, agents, if they're honest, they're not short of leads, but they are short of being able to prioritize the hottest leads and just having a way of dealing with the leads in general. That often phrase, the overused tire kicker. People always call them tire kickers. Well, the one certain way you can that you can guarantee they're going to be a tire kicker is if you leave them for hours and days at an end before going back to them. That people just demand so much more these days, don't they?
Yeah, I mean,
I think we can. Sorry, go on.
Go on.
Okay, so what we're trying to do really is be completely agnostic when it comes to a new lead. So we're saying, well, we don't know who it is until we've qualified them. So let's treat them as a gold lead until we know what's going on, and we can try and maximise that opportunity. But you're right, it's that turnaround time and being present in the moment and ensuring that we've got that follow up secured. And otherwise, they're just going to, the first three that come back are the three that are going to get invited in for evaluation. Isn't that right?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It's probably hard to quantify at this stage without grabbing a load of stats and data to kind of give you that kind of difference. But we spoke right at the start that what the website's supposed to do is generate your leads. So why wouldn't your website tell you how many leads you've got? Why wouldn't it give up that information? And the only reason it wouldn't is because maybe it's not confident that it's delivering that. Whereas actually what we're not afraid to say, look, here are your leads. You can access them anytime you want. You want to grab a report. Because if your website isn't working, there's things you can do to help that. And you need to see that information. It's great if leads are coming through and you're contacting them really quickly, but actually that's not when you need to take action. You need to take action actually if a page isn't performing. Maybe I haven't linked it correctly. Maybe I haven't put the form in the correct place. Maybe I'm not using the right type of language to actually attract it. And by freeing up that data, you can really help the agent understand what's going on digitally. And I think fundamentally that's a problem for a lot of agents is not understanding what's going on digitally. And we're not afraid to show you that so you can make your own decisions.
It's the connecting of the CRM system to the website gives you new information that you don't have when they're disconnected.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what you want to find out is what's people's engagement like. What's the engagement like with the properties, with your website? What's that look like? And so Webdadi can give you that information. You can see whether people are printing off details from properties, whether what ones they're looking at, what are the top 10, what are the bottom 10.
Yeah, that's great.
All that kind of engagement stuff. It's going to go as far as are people opening the floor plans? Are they not opening? What is it they don't like about the property? Which is why maybe we need to decrease the price, or those sort of stats. We can see all those sort of bits of information and pull it all together for the negotiator then make decisions on. So by the negotiator having access to the system at no additional cost per seat, we can give them more information than they have today, just by having split systems.
I think I've been banging the drum for some time now that there's a kind of holy trinity, if you like, of absolutely core systems for an estate agency. Obviously, you've got your website at the front end, you've got your CRM system, hopefully with sales and letting together, but sometimes that may be split. And then quite often you will have an EDM provider, won't you? Something like a Brief Your Market or something like that.
Yeah.
Are there now? In the past, it's been possible to, relatively recently, obviously you can integrate all of those through. Still quite difficult getting two-way synchronization between them there. But what you can promise to do with you guys is those first two, the website and the CRM, work hand in glove together. So that example you were just talking about there, Wally, the ones where you can get statistics about people, opening the floor plans or sending details. Well, you can get that information at the moment, can't you, with many other agents. But simply by putting those barriers in place means that the flow of information stops, doesn't it, and never actually helps the agent make meaningful decisions about it.
And also you want to reduce that friction that you get currently having it separated, which is enabling people to make things like make offers through the website. All that.
Yeah.
We're going to reduce friction for sales and lettings is ultimately by putting more of that capability online. And by joining up CRM and websites, you get the ability to do that. So with Webdadi, you've got a My Account login, so you can see what property viewings you've been on, any offers that have been made. All that kind of stuff is then in real time there. It wouldn't be if you've got two separate systems because you don't have this real time connectivity. So, by doing that, we've got that ability to give visibility to the clients and to the estate agent to share that information through their website. So the website is getting even more and more powerful. It's reducing the friction for sales and it's bringing providers into it all. So
the sum of the parts is actually greater there, isn't it? Because of that information being brought together, which is,
and it's amazing that more of this doesn't already exist. But there's, you know, HubSpot at the corporate level of this. HubSpot, you know, if you've got a load of cash, you're a corporate business, then HubSpot has got this wrapped up, and they're kind of the first really there that have. I think we were slightly in front of them for the SME market. We're not trying to compete with HubSpot. We're a niche solution. And we're for the SME market. So we're reducing all that cost of integration by having a package, CRM and a website as a package.
Excellent. Well, let's just, I was just going to show the, let's just see if I can share the screen now. This is where I can't even work my own one. So if you can just see there on the, can you see that popped up from Rachel Hopping there? Obviously, we were speaking about the Green Slade. One, they got a nice 5-star review. They're a pleasure to work with. From the outset, it was clear that our website needed to be in safe hands. The project was a vast one, as our firm has a number of business areas that needed to be portrayed to their best advantage, with differing audiences to consider. Webdadi broke the project down into manageable chunks and guided us through step by step. Their knowledge of the technical aspects of the site was excellent, and they worked with our third-party providers in a professional way. Elliot especially was a fantastic project lead, always willing to talk things through and offer solutions to any obstacles we faced on the way. It was a pleasure to work with him and the team of developers who are quick to respond and friendly. We now have a future-proof, user-friendly website that has seen a substantial growth in users, and as a result has generated a good number of leads. It's also much easier for us to keep the pages and content current and attractive to users. Webdadi have certainly proved to be the safe hands we've needed there. I'd encourage anyone, as usual, to go back and have a look at the landing pages that we're talking about with all of our partners here, because ultimately, you know, when we talk to the guys like this, go and check out and see what the clients are saying. They're always named agents, so there's none of this kind of anonymous stuff. They're agents that are willing to put their name to the suppliers, and that always carries a lot of weight, I think, especially when it's as strong as that. If you can't glean some real benefit from that, then, you know, I don't know what can, because often it's a lonely decision, isn't it, going into this? It is one of you guys will understand one of the biggest problems is they know that choosing a website or a CRM is a big problem. So is a massive decision. So it tends to get the can kicked down the road, doesn't it? Which actually is the worst solution of all, realistically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, guys, and I believe you've done us a decent favour as well with our Kerfuffle members, haven't you? In terms of the deal, is that right?
Yeah, we've got a deal running at the moment on Kerfuffle. So we're offering 20% off the website setup on an Atom theme, and we don't charge for any CRM setup at the moment. So do your consultation, a free setup, and we'll knock 20% off for Kerfuffle customers.
That's really kind of you, Ollie. Thank you. Anyone, obviously, there's a nice big pink button on every one of our landing pages. Click on that and we'll pass the lead through, or obviously reach out to the guys directly. And obviously, you mentioned you're a Kerfuffle member. So what I'm taking for this, guys, if I could just try and summarize here, basically, you've got the option, obviously, when you're looking at a website today, you can go for a templated, normally cheap, but will frustrate the hell out of you ordinarily unless you really have your eyes open at one end of the scale. You've then got at the other end of the scale, largely bespoke option there where you can have what you want, but it'll be a labor of love, and normally there's quite a price on that. Or what you guys are telling us is you've got this wonderful hybrid scenario here where you're able to get the best of both worlds, really, in terms of, you know, the halfway house, in terms of getting largely what you require, but not obviously having to bankrupt yourself trying to get the site set up.
Exactly right. And, you know, it's tried and tested. That's the other thing. We've got, 300 websites on this platform. So, things going wrong, it's already, everything's known about it and already dealt with. We must be on release 18 now, I think, in terms of updates. So, when you buy something brand new off the shelf and you build it from the ground up, it's going to have bugs, it's going to have problems, and all that's gone for you. So that's gone.
And the other thing is having that level of quality agents on as well means that you're constantly getting ideas and innovation, driving the product forwards day by day, aren't you? Which is great. Secondly, though, I think also you can obviously save money on the CRM if you want to, because you're not paying per user. This branch-based branch-based approach works well for people if they want to make cost savings on that basis, which again is a nice benefit for somebody there. Also, obviously, not having to pay for integrations is a key point, because some providers obviously can really take the mickey on that front. And then lastly as well, given that content management basis, that content management system that you've got, you can do as little or as much as you want to do, really, in terms of trying to stay fresh and keep yourself, standing aside from the crowd. But I think with those three elements there, that really starts to reinforce what you guys are doing. Again, not just in terms of how you help the agents stay different, but how you stand differently and slightly away from the crowd as well, don't you?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
exactly.
Excellent. Well, look, I want to say thank you very much. Learned certainly a lot. I'm meant to be an expert, but I've learned more about you today than I did, and that's, of course, what it's all about. So, guys, thank you very much. Ollie, Elliot, and Mark from Webdadi, thank you for your time today. Wish you all the best of luck. And if I don't catch up before, have a great Christmas.
you too.
Great. Thank you, Simon. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.